All right, what a blessing it is. I want to thank God and my family for allowing me to be here today, especially my UL family, Coach Dez, and the strength staff. First and foremost, since January started, we've been running around here like a bunch of rabid dogs trying to get this taste out of our mouth. And, I've been in this game for a long time, since 2010. So this is going to be my 15th season in college football, my 15th summer. And this is by far the most humbled, most disciplined, and most ferocious team I've ever been around. Every day they look at the work that has to be done and they attack it with extreme effort. And it has been a blessing to coach these guys day in and day out. And I couldn't be more excited for the season.
So last season, especially say the offensive line of it, kind of wore down towards the end of the year. So from a strength and conditioning standpoint, how was that addressed in the offseason?
Well, define worn down.
Just, the end of the season, it just seemed to be not as aggressive, not as effective in your execution, that you were in.
Well, I would say that, obviously the season didn't end the way that we wanted to end. All right, that's why you play the game. That's why they keep score. And every team is different. And so if it comes to an endurance standpoint, well, that is the winner's quality. You have to, from January until January, that's the goal, is to be 365 days, football. And, with the new team, obviously we had guys leave and we have new guys stepping into new roles. How are we going to reinvent ourselves? How are we going to redefine ourselves? And I think that comes back to the blueprint that Coach Dez puts in front of the team every year. And what is the culture and what is the standard? Well, the culture here is we're gonna plan our work and we're gonna work our plan. I mean, that's what it is, day in and day out. And then the standard is up to the leadership council and the team's leaders to uphold and hold each other accountable. And some days you may not be at your best, but your best is needed on command. And so if we can right those wrongs and fix coming out every single game day ready to play, then everything else is we just got to play the game and got to finish the right way. So finish in every aspect, no matter how well you feel, how good you feel, how bad you feel. It's all about performing at 100% effort. So
can you talk a little bit more about players kind of holding other players, like the other players, accountable and holding them to the standard that's being set?
Absolutely. Well, so we have a set of rules that need to be followed. And it doesn't matter if you're wearing earrings or if you're not wearing team issue gear. I or my staff members shouldn't have to tell someone to do that. The players do it for them. And if it's something minuscule like that, and I know that they hold each other accountable, hey, you got the wrong stuff on. Hey, you shouldn't have that in. You shouldn't have your necklace on. You shouldn't have your earrings on. That just goes to show that the standards are set and the accountability. If I can hold someone accountable for little things, then I can hold someone accountable for bigger things. And I think the leadership aspect of it is not, Coach Dez says this all the time, it's not a license to do less, it's an obligation to do more. And the further along that we get into the season and the more that we can hold each other accountable and trust each other on game day, on practice days, and on our days off to do what's right, even though people aren't always watching, I think that goes a testament of the character of this team, the character of this program, and the character of this university.
Who's come in bringing in the most muscle, most strength?
I think that's a relative term. Guys play different positions, and the stressors of the game are different depending on what type of position you play. I will say this though, the entire team has made an effort to stand out. And so the outliers on our team are guys that may be struggling in the sense that they have a little bit longer to do to attain what needs to be attained, while the bulk of the team is doing anything and everything they can to win at all costs. And it's whatever it takes type of mentality. So I would answer that question with who is not gaining muscle, getting faster, becoming quicker, knowing the games, the ins and outs of everything. And that list is very, very few.
You talked about finishing the job and all of those things like that. What's an example of how you tried to build that out in the strength program over the off season of trying to finish and things like that?
Well, we started very aggressively We started very aggressively in January. We started very aggressively in June, and we've just keep adding on more work in a smart manner. But how smart can you be tough? And we're being very, very tough, very aggressive. We're using all of our data collection to make sure that we're on the razor's edge, but at the same time, like, we're tough. You got to be tough. You got to calculate an attitude. My staff has to calculate an attitude that we want our players to have, and we've done that day in and day out. Like I said, I've been running around here like a rabid dog since January, and it's personal. It's personal to me. It's personal to everybody in the building. And we want to win. We want to win for this university. We want to win for this city. We want to win for the state. But more importantly, we want to win for ourselves, because we know that we can. And obviously you got to play the game, but the passion is what this building has. And if you're not excited for the season, I mean, you're in the wrong building.
Connor, do y'all use or do you personally use like a metrics thing, like when you do max on bench and squats and so forth, and get like a team average?
Yes, sir. So,
and can you compare that to like previous years?
Yes, sir. All right. So we have force plate testing systems, and we really don't max. And now that's not saying we're not lifting heavy weight all the time, because we do. But the thing that I have about maxing is that if I max out, I have hit my peak. I'm at the top of the mountain. Well, where do you go from there? You go back down. So I want to peak in the college football playoff. All right, so we have force plate testing that we do that is non-invasive testing that doesn't tax your CNS, and it can show us exactly what we want to see, when we want to see it, and we can compare it to the individual, to the position, and to previous teams, and then we program off of that on a daily basis. So it's and that allows us to obviously push the pace, and if we need to, pull back if they're willing, add more.
Last year, y'all lost, some very seasoned quarterback and leaders. You've been in Chandler, and then obviously Casey was a great leader and kind of the spokesman of the defense. You got a lot of new people in offense, and you probably notice even more than the position coaches and the head coach who the new leaders are.
Right.
What have you noticed there?
I've noticed that guys are willing to put themselves out there. They are willing to hold each other accountable, and then they are willing to be held accountable. And I think that is a lost art in these types of generations, because some people think that if I try to hold you accountable and I make a mistake, that is a degradation of my character. Well, no, that's how we make each other better. And so that's been a great sounding board for this team and for us moving forward. That's what it takes. I make mistakes. My staff makes mistakes. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to make a mistake. It's okay. You have to fail to succeed. And any person that is successful has made many, many failures. But you have to correct the mistakes. You have to find a solution. And then you got to find the process to eliminate things that may get in the way. And that's what we're all about. I mean, finding the solution and then working day in and day out to make sure that we're all pulling on the same side of the rope, that we're all working towards a common goal, and that is to win.